What's going on, everybody? If you're new to this channel, my name is Quentin Stuckey, otherwise known as Stux. I make videos to do with writing, personal development, psychology, philosophy, among so many other topics. And I'm here today with Alessia Dickson, writer of the Chronicles series. This is the first book that she's written. It was released in 2016, is that right? Mm-hmm. And this is the second one that was just released last fall, so October 2019. So really excited to have her here today on this second episode of Novel Conversations. And I thought today that I would sit down and talk with you because we go to the same university, and out of all the people in our program, I think that you're the one that's actually doing it, because so many people get into an English program and they want to write, but most of them don't end up doing it. And so I thought that you would be a really interesting person to talk to. Alessia also has a YouTube channel. It'll be listed down below in the description box. So are you excited?
Yeah, I'm excited.
Are you excited? Yeah. All right. So the first thing that I wanted to ask you, I wanted you to compare these two books. Like, which one do you prefer? How do you feel, like, in terms of everything, the story, the writing process? Like, when you see those two books side by side, what do you think of? What comes to mind? Thinking back to when you were writing them.
So my favorite book of the two is definitely The Lost Temple. I like it more for like a variety of reasons. This one was written when I was like 13 and 14, so I was a lot younger, and obviously your writing matures and gets better as you get older. It doesn't mean it's a bad book, like they're both great together, but I just have seen so much improvement in my writing, especially with the second one. So I'm definitely more proud of the second one. And it's not just the writing, I like the plot better, like the setting takes place in the Amazon. Even the cover I prefer, I just think it's more interesting. And yeah, I just also had like a good experience with the release of the second one. So a lot of good memories in this one.
As opposed to the first one?
Yeah, and also like with your first book, a lot of debut writers will tell you this, but it's pretty stressful, like releasing your first book. It's a lot of work, you don't know what you're doing because it's your first time. So doing it the second time around was a lot easier and less stressful, so yeah. Definitely.
What was the first story that you remember really loving when you were growing up?
The first story. I would think it's a children's book. It's like a children's book where like these two kids, they like take a bath and then they go under the water, and then it's like this whole underwater world and they go swimming. If I find like the name of the book, he'll put a picture of it here. But that was the first children's book that I remember liking. And the first YA book that I remember liking is the series of Unfortunate Events. And that's probably what got me into YA.
Yeah, that's a classic.
Into the genre, yeah, it's a classic.
Good. Do you remember which one was your favorite? There's 13 of them?
13 of them,
13
oh my god.
Them, yeah.
I do not remember.
They're all kind of the same too. It's always like he's back and it's just in a different setting. It's the same book over and over again. Just trying to like Count Olaf trying to steal the Baudelaire's fortune.
I just remember it was really dark and I liked it.
Mm-hmm. Where did the Crystal Chronicles really begin? Like what was the genesis of it? Like it seems like you had grown up reading, like in another interview you gave with CBC, your father was talking about how he would have this pile of books in the back seat with you, and you would read them one after the other, and by the time you arrived at your cottage, like they would just be done, and that's unheard of for someone obviously so young. So I'm wondering, like, where did the Crystal Chronicles really begin? Like, when you think of when someone asks you what was the genesis of it, where does it begin?
I mean, it initially began one day when I was swimming in my pool. I was just like thinking that it would be interesting to write a book about the 4 different elements, so earth, air, fire, and water. And then I guess it really began when I was in grade 5 with my friend Gregory. I told him that like I wanted to write a book, and he was like, well, let me help you plan it, and then it'll make it much better if I help you. And that's pretty much how it started. And yeah, it started in like the schoolyard at recess. That's how it really started.
Wow. And so what are the strengths of young adult fiction from your perspective? Because young adult fiction is often, I mean, it's still sort of looked down upon, I think, that in like children's literature. Like any literature that's written for young people seems to really look down upon. It seems to be, people assume that it's lesser literature. What do you think are the strengths of young adult fiction?
I think the strengths of the genre, it's my favorite genre, by the way, of course, it's what I write in, but I think the biggest strength of the genre is blending adult themes with like themes of like childhood and growing up. And I think that's really good because it can like reflect people's like actual experiences. In fantasy as well as just regular YA, for example, like The Hate U Give, that's a really good example, where it blended like adult themes with like things that like people of color experience while growing up, and then like they put that together. So like that's a really good example. And even fantasy novels like mine, like there's adult themes, but also like while remaining true to like the target audience. So that's probably the biggest strength. And also it's just like a lot of fun. Like especially with fantasy, there's like no rules. You can pretty much do whatever you want. So I like that.
Yeah. What do you think, why do you think that this is building off of what I was saying earlier? Why do you think that genres like children's literature and YA are so marginal compared to other genres? Why do you think that is?
I think it's because it's meant for a younger audience, and adults view children as being like simple and they don't understand like complex concepts, and I think that's why it's looked down on. It's just seen as like a simpler genre to write, but it's really not. It's actually the opposite, because especially for YA you need to find like a perfect blend of adult and like child themes without going too overboard on one. So you need to like find a perfect balance. So yeah, it's actually like a pretty hard genre to write in my opinion.
What is the most difficult aspect of being a writer, would you say?
For me personally, the most difficult aspect is definitely drafting. So like writing the first draft and second draft of the book. I really like editing because it's so much easier like when you actually have something to work with and edit, but drafting is definitely the hardest for me because you start from nothing. So,
the tyranny of the blank page.
Yeah, the blank page.
Right. So Alessia's not only a writer, but she's also a motivational speaker. And you've toured, it's 70 schools across the Greater Toronto area, known as the GTA to us because that's where we live, but to the rest of the world, to the YouTube audience, Greater Toronto area.
Greater Toronto area.
When did you begin motivational speaking, and was that a big step for you, coming from suddenly, you've finally written this book and now it's actually coming out and all of a sudden you're getting attention for it. So how was the jump from being a writer, working on your book, to talking about it in front of large groups of kids?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a jump. I started motivationally speaking when I was in grade 11 of high school, so I was 17. And yeah, it was really different for me because a lot of writers, they are pretty shy and they don't like public speaking. And I was the same way. I did not like public speaking. I was pretty shy. But a lot of people, they wanted to just like hear my story, and they wanted to hear how I published a book and did all of these things. And then I just realized that like I didn't even need to be afraid. Like these kids were my age and I could talk to them and I could really like help them out with what they want to do. And obviously like I was nervous in the beginning, but I slowly got more comfortable over time, especially as I started talking to younger kids, and I really saw like the difference that I made, and that really just motivated me to get even better and better. And now it's like such a big part of my life. I like it just as much as writing. It's like so much fun.
Which one do you prefer?
I think I actually prefer writing. Yeah, I'm a writer at heart, but it does come really close. Like, there's nothing like it in the world.
Mm-hmm. So how has the COVID-19 pandemic impacted your writing and your motivational speaker? Because obviously,
yeah.
I mean, you probably have more time for writing, but the motivational speaking, you've had to stop doing that for the time being now that schools have been closed. How has that impacted you? And not just in terms of your writing, but on a personal level, because when the world is going through such a huge ordeal, it's like hard to find the motivation or focus to actually sit down and write because all these things are going on and you're like, Yeah. So how has it been for you?
I mean, so like when COVID started, I got deported from Ireland because I was studying there. So that was the biggest thing. And then obviously I came home. But I would say in terms of my work, COVID actually in a weird way helped it because I had so much free time to spend at home, and then of course I was going to be writing. So I started writing some more. I was able to start my third book, start a YouTube channel, stuff like that. And yeah, it hasn't been like too different for me because I usually work at home anyways. I'm self-employed. So in terms of work, like COVID did actually give me more time to spend working. And then I guess personally, like it did impact me in other ways. I couldn't see my friends, I couldn't go outside, just like do the regular things that I would normally be doing, but it definitely helped my books. So it's been okay.
Yeah. And what are you working on right now? What can we expect from you in the future?
Ooh, okay. So, right now I'm writing my third book, which is going to be called The Crystal Chronicles and the Sunken City. It's the third book, so the water book. And what to expect from me? I will be motivationally speaking in September, either virtually or in person. And yeah, I'll be making more YouTube videos. I'll be in more events around the city and stuff like that.
Awesome. So this is kind of a not a detour, I shouldn't say that, but this is an interesting question. So describe how you feel right now, just in general with your life, using 4 adjectives.
4 adjectives. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Or 4 words. They don't
Or
have to be
4 words.
adjectives.
Okay.
Yeah.
Describe my life.
Right now in this
Right
moment.
now.
Go ahead,
Okay.
yeah.
First is content. Second one is driven. Third one is excited, and the fourth one is happy.
Very nice. Very nice.
I like that.
When was the last time you wrote a sentence?
A sentence? A sentence. Oh my god.
Just
Probably.
one sentence.
Oh my god. Probably like 4 days ago.
4 days ago.
I have not written this week, so secrets out.
Do you have any advice for young people that are trying to get into creative industries besides writing, or just any industries in general? Like, what would you say to a young person that doesn't know where to begin?
Okay. I would say the first thing is really understand like what you want to be doing in like the creative industry. So for example, if you want to write a book, like what kind of book, who's the audience for, do you want to traditionally publish, do you want to self-publish, like really just like break down what you actually want to do and understand it. So obviously research it, and that will help a lot. And then the second thing is obviously just like create. So it's one thing to want to do something, but you obviously need content. So definitely create, and at least you'll have something. And that's probably the second thing. So research, create, and then the third one would be probably network. So just, you know, join Facebook, join Instagram, just get on social media and find people in your industry and find other people who also do the same type of thing that you do. So for example, if you're an artist, you know, like meet up with other artists, try to contact other artists, and like you never know what's gonna happen. So definitely network. And then the fourth one is probably just try and build a name for yourself. Like even if you're just starting out, like there's nothing stopping you from making like an Instagram page and showing off your work, or making like a free website or a blog or something like that, or a YouTube channel. There's so many free ways that you can advertise yourself, and I would definitely do that, because then it would, once you're on the internet, you pretty much start building like an online portfolio, and then professionals will eventually see it, and then you never know what would happen. So yeah, 4 steps would be research, create, network, and advertise yourself.
Very nice.
Yeah, that's good.
Any advice for older people?
Any advice for older people? I would say definitely doesn't matter what age you are, like the same 4 things I just said applies to any age. So yeah, there's definitely no difference.
Do you think it's harder for younger people or for older people? Younger people, at least, I guess, are more versed in the technology a little bit to take advantage of it. Older people, maybe not as much.
I think it's easier for younger people. They definitely understand the internet a bit better. But I mean, it doesn't mean anyone can do it. You can do whatever you put your mind to. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So thank you for being on Novel Conversations today.
Yeah.
Alessia's
Thanks for having
website
me.
and YouTube channel will be linked below.
Yeah.
Go and buy her book. She's working on the 3rd one right now. And I guess that's it.
That's it.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Take care. It's probably one of the easiest videos I've ever made.
Yeah. Was that good?
That was really good.
Okay,
I'm gonna
good.
include that at the end.
No one knows we're dating.
Not once did I mention, oh yeah, she's also my girlfriend.
That's so funny.
Yeah.